Hey people, hey travelers. So I wanted to make this little series of video again, or like kind of remake it since my channel has grown some more, about the signs and what they do in the Zodiac. So this is about Aries. This could be the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, Neptune, whatever the fuck you got in there. It's kind of going to be influenced by this Aryan energy, and probably what you got in the first house. You could also make analogies to Aries' energy. So Aries is the first spark, first sign of the Zodiac. So in the beginning there was light or something like that, or perhaps there was darkness and then the light came. I think it's like that, because darkness is kind of like a space, and then the light came into this, whatever, I'm just rambling, right? So Aries, they like to charge into stuff. They're the first spark of the Zodiac. They're the ones who set the wheel in motion first. Tropically, in this Western system that I practice and try to like teach or share information about, they're at the beginning of spring, the beginning of like the season, if you want. If spring, summer, fall, winter, blah 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 blah. So being the first sign, they're kind of like this child. They charge ahead first. They create their first sense of identity. So whatever is in Aries is kind of going to get fueled through the self. You're going to feel attached very much to that energy because Aries is the self. Same thing for what's in your first house. It's the first thing people are going to see about you. It's how you're going to present yourself, what's really important for your own ego's construction. Aries being ruled by Mars, they're a masculine sign. Of course, they're also a fire sign, so they're a masculine sign, but they're ruled by Mars. So they're from point A to point B kind of deal, you know. They charge into something. They're very much left-brained, meaning that they're logical. They don't like to get entangled too much in stuff, you know. They're kind of like this powerful burst of energy that bursts through the bullshit. It kind of gets into their head, and then they're ready to charge. So Aries is a lot about competition, challenges, you know. This is gonna fuel their fire, because fire is a combustible, and if you know your physics, you need to have fire is a combustible. I'm not sure about trying to be too intelligent there. You're just an astrology guy, dude. But you know, fire needs a fuel. Fire needs something to get fuel. So that's the passion that comes from the challenge. They're ruled by Mars, the god of war. So anytime, like if they have to steal your girlfriend, if they have to win the race, if they have to beat you in a fight, if they have to output more energy than you to show how passionate and true they are, they're so full of themselves. They will do it, and they'll feel so passionate about it, and there'll be this endless supply of energy as long as they're passionate about something. They can be warriors on the battlefield for so long. I know a girl, she dances like in front of like the speakers at raves for like hours and hours and hours, and you're like, how could you do that? This is not good for your ears. And she's like, oh, Kara. So you know, there's this energy, and what makes them good leaders is exactly that. It's their passion, it's their will to get shit done, but it's also the fact that they are the first sign in the Zodiac. So they haven't really been through all the other steps. They're still at the step of creating the self, or making their place in the world, you know, or at least that's how their spirit kind of, it's like a placement where there's really not many filters, because being the first sign, it didn't really have time to accumulate shit, right? First you start in Aries, then you go Taurus, you create your self values, Gemini the mind, Cancer emotions, and so on, until you go to Pisces, the sign before Aries, and you kind of dissolve the self, and you get rid of all this bullshit that you've accumulated in your waters, and you just letting go of it and just going with the flow of life. Aries is more gotta get that shit done. I don't care all that much about the other signs, because I'm new here, like whatever, I can boss you around, blah blah blah, I can give you a kick in the butt if that's what you need, you know. So that's their energy. What else? They're represented by the head. Now again, you could see the horns. of Aries. Could I just put a picture? Sorry, let me just show you something. I really like this image. Like, people often think that like the glyph of it. Okay, so that's the glyph of Aries, right? You see it? Yeah, that's the glyph of Aries. And like the planet represents is Mars, so that's just like the symbol for man, you know, like a circle with an arrow. So it's accumulated energy that goes bam. But I like, I found a picture that I really like actually, which kind of like shows the Aries like need for a fight. Where are you, Scooby-Dooby-Doo? Oh, there it is. See, I like that one. You can kind of see like the same, you know, the same kind of thing. So it's two rams together, or it could be one ram with two horns, but I prefer the two rams together. It's where was I going with that? Not sure. Yeah, they're represented by the head, so the horns, they're gonna like to charge into stuff, and if like fire gets into them and they don't express it, like they're gonna have to let it go. So sometimes they're gonna like blow some steam. I'm gonna see them. I'm gonna get red here. They can be stubborn at times because if something seems fishy, if something doesn't seem like truthful at first sight, they're gonna fight it a little bit just to see like what's the fighting power back. Like if there's nothing, like if the person like has an argument that the Aries think isn't true and they don't fight back to protect it, Aries will be like, well, with my Martian power I was able to like burn through the bullshit and see without filters. The fact that they weren't able to argue against me just proves that I was right. So this is kind of the Aries mentality. So they go well with fire signs, you know, because naturally Leo is always outputting this fiery energy. Whatever is happening, even if they're mad, they're still, you know, they keep their composed in their solar or like their ego. Sagittarius likes to play around with the fire. They can reduce it, increase it, so Aries gets along well with other fire signs. They also get along well with air signs, like you know, Gemini kind of gives them ideas for them to like start new projects and get creative and stuff. Libra is their opposite, so it kind of gives them a point to look at. Like Libra kind of does the same thing as Aries, but they're diplomatic. They're not the warmonger. They're more like, oh, but what if, and it's more like of a feminine energy. They get the other to do as they will without necessarily being direct. They just change the hidden flow of things. So Aries can kind of get like a good balance out of that. Aries with Aquarius also. Aquarius kind of like detaches itself from the ego, so Aries can kind of get inspired by that, I guess, or like they can kind of enjoy the truthfulness that there is without necessarily having a fire. This is what Aquarius brings by being detached from their self. But like, you know, as much as like they're always looking for that energy, they're always like outputting that, like they charge into stuff, like they're the ram, they like to be like dominating, they like the challenge. If you're dealing with water energy like Cancer, you know, just water in general, with Pisces it's not so bad because they're one beside the other, you know. So like oftentimes if you got something in Aries like the sun, like the Mercury and Venus never move too far away from the sun because they're really close. So from our perspective, they can never get into really farther signs, you know. So if you got something in Aries, you might have something in Pisces. Like Aries and Pisces kind of get well together, but Aries with Cancer, that's a square aspect. I invite you to check the videos about aspects if you want. But a square aspect mainly means that like they're both of the same modality, they're both cardinal. So Aries starts the season, starts the cycle. Cancer starts summer, so they're kind of like a water sign. They would water down Aries in a way. So there could be like this not so easygoing energy between them, where one kind of gets lit, the other waters down, or like the other is just calm and then the fire comes and boils that shit into some vapor and gets really volatile. Sorry, I just ate some really good pierogies there. So And Scorpio. Scorpio and Aries aren't that bad either, actually, because Scorpio is also ruled by Mars and Pluto, but also ruled by Mars. So they can kind of understand each other, I guess. But one is going to be more internal and the other is going to be more outputting. And finally, the earth signs. So Taurus and Aries, not bad again, because Taurus is beside Aries, just like Pisces is. Actually, Aries is between Pisces and Taurus. Aries with Virgo, I mean, like, Virgo might be more inclined with little details and like sharing information, withholding some for themselves. Aries is more about like the present moment and just living it and just say it. God, you know. So there might be a little tension there. Aries with Capricorn, not so good. Can be really good also, you know, because Aries will kind of like heat up like the earth of Capricorn, or like Capricorn will try to like put some sand on Aries fire, you know. So like Aries might be burning internally and Capricorn might feel like some heat or some need to get moving or something, but they're an earth sign, so they don't really want that. Yeah, that's pretty much all the signs, right? Aries represents the head, fire, cardinal, ruled by Mars. The sun is exalted in there, so it means that the sun feels good there. So if you're an Aries sun, if you're an Aries, the sun is actually feeling great there. You know, the sun represents our like individuality, if you want, or how we output ourself in the world, and Aries is the sign of the self. So as much as Leo rules the sun and like creative expression and spirit, Aries is about creating that self. So the sun is at its place there. Venus is at its detriment there, because Venus is from Libra, or Venus is like a I got a video about Venus and Aries, you know, chicks with Venus and Aries, like some fucking dating tips for dudes based on astrology. But basically Venus and Aries is not at its place because Aries wants to get to point A to point B, and Venus is like this feminine energy that adapts to the situation, you know, and is kind of yielding, whereas Aries is focus. So if you got Venus and Aries, you know, you're where you need to be sensitive, you might be harsh. Where you need to be harsh, you might be sensitive. It depends on like your chart makeup, I guess. Yeah, as much as I want to say, as much as I can say. And you know where the buttons are if you like that shit. I actually prefer comments than likes, but you can leave both. I allow you. Whatever, just have a good one.